This
Session.
conference will now be recorded.
So we will start troubleshooting the problem which encountered yesterday while we are configuring one EC2 instance, that is VM on virtual machine on AWS console. So I have found the solution. I will discuss that solution with you, and I will tell you how I arrived at solution. So let's start the session. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Please type yes in chat box so that I can know that you are able to see my screen. Okay, so we'll start. So what happened yesterday was that we are trying to deploy one EC2 instance in our AWS console. So we are unable to connect to the EC2 instance. So there are multiple reasons that when we are not able to connect to our virtual machine which is deployed in cloud. So I have like taken many steps to resolve that. First, I try to check the security group, like if there is any port blockage is there or not. Then I because whenever you are troubleshooting any problem related to the connectivity, there must be a problem with the port, like which sometimes some ports are blocked, which are used to connect to your cloud machine. And if the ports are okay, uh, I try to put allow all the TCP and UDP port so that there will be no problem with the port which is blocking my connection to my VM. So after that, that problem is still not resolved. Then I check virtual VPC setting. VPC is virtual private cloud. That is a network services which AWS provide as a like router and a switch. The functionality, same functionality is done by VPC. So I found some one error is there in VPC. So this is the screenshot of that error. Uh, if you see the screenshot, it is saying that uh, my IGW is my internet gateway. So that is showing status black hole. So I Google it on AWS website, and I found that the state of the route, the black hole state indicate that the route target is not available. For example, the specific gateway is not attached to the VPC. So means there is some configuration error, like my internet gateway, which is responsible for providing the internet access to my virtual machine, that is not working properly, and it is showing a status black hole. So what I have done is then I remove that black hole and I try to reconfigure it. So I will also show you on the console, but first I will explain you this scenario so that you can know that what exactly we are going to do in console. So VPC is the network setting of our this you can say a network setting which is responsible for providing a connectivity to our virtual machine. So I have removed the internet gateway. Then I go to the another setting. On the left hand side, you can see in the orange color, it is written internet gateway. So I created first this fresh internet gateway and attach that gateway to the our VPC, virtual private cloud. So once it is done, then that problem is resolved completely. So these are the step which is like I have created the internet gateway, and then on the action button there is an option called attach to VPC, and I choose the name for same VPC where in that VPC my this virtual machine is hosted. So once it is successfully configured, then again I go to the root table and add the VPC connection there. So we will see same thing on the cloud, on the actual scenario. So I'll do share my screen. I'll share my browser. Is my browser is visible to everyone? Type yes in chat box. Okay. So this is the home page uh, where after login to the console, this is the first page. Like we can see, so that page is different for like every console, because whatever the favorite services I use, it will publish here as a favorite. So once you log into your console, you may see blank in publish, or maybe that tile is also you can arrange by yourself. So don't get confused that you are not seeing that option. So every option, which the option you are looking in the AWS, you can search it from the search bar, or you can create a shortcut here. So just a minute. So first we will go to the EC2 machine. So as you can see my dashboard that I have zero instance running, and there is a one instance which I have created, but that is in the stop state, and there are three key pair and four security group. So one important thing to note is whenever you are creating any virtual machine, uh, if you are using the default security group, it will be there. But when you delete the virtual machine, that security group will remain there. So it keep piling up until unless you select and clear that security group. So security group is something like a firewall, act as a firewall in AWS services. So it is better you can keep that security group which you are using and delete the unnecessary one, right? So this dashboard is particularly showing me for this US East North Virginia, that EC2 dashboard. So if you want to look at that, yeah, if you have any resource in the working condition uh, or any other resource which left in the other region, you can go to this EC2 global view. So here you will see that all the resources which is like deployed all over the world, like any other region. So it will take a moment to update the setting. It is collecting the information that what are the resources I have deployed across the globe. So it is showing me that I have only one instance in the one single region. You can AWS provide a lot of option to move back and forth between their application. If you click on that, it will give you that this resource, and you can directly see the information over there. So sometime you have a multiple resource and you just want to note down their public IP or private IP or instance ID or security group information. You can easily go to the global search, and then you can select your desired VM, and then you can see the resource over there. Otherwise, it is very painful every time you are switching this region, and like if the reason are multiple, then it is a very painful task. So better to go to the global dashboard, and then you can easily click on your VM and note down or modify that necessary changes which are required by you. So I have created one shortcut over there, so I click on that EC2. So we will click here on instance. It will go to that page. So if you remember that I have clicked on the instance running filter over there. So it is not showing me any VM here. So I will close it down that filter, or you can click on the clear filter. It will show you the instance. Right now it is in the stop state. Just a minute. Sorry for interruption. So I will first start this instance. To start the instance, click on instance state and then click on start. It will automatically start the instance. So it will take some time to start this Linux machine. So if you see right now, when I have stopped the instance, it release the public IP of my machine. So once it will start, it will automatically attach a fresh public IP. So every time you stop your instance, it will release the current public IP, and assign new public IP. So it automatically assign the new public IP address to my machine. So if you want to have a this static public IP address that when you stop your machine or you whatever the state the machine is, it will get the same IP. Then you use there is an option called elastic IP that will remain same whenever in the case of stop also that elastic IP is there. So if you delete that virtual machine, then again elastic IP is there. It is only released when you delete that elastic IP. But elastic IP, I recommend you to go to the costing part before using that elastic IP because if the elastic IP is not in use, the AWS will start charging you. So it is better to read about the services which you are going to use and after finishing up your lab you can terminate that service. So I will show you where I have this uh, found that problem. So on the left side if you see uh, we can go to the VPC first. So VPC is something like your own private network. For example, take the example that you are working in a company. So they have their own router and switches. So inside their local network or inside their network, only their workstations are deployed and server are deployed. So that is their local domain. So VPC is kind of a private network until unless you attach a public IP to that. So it is uh, in the coming lab we will create both public and cloud, private cloud to understand the concept in deep. So this is the VPC of my current network. So if you see, it is giving the detail that there is a CIDR block one network subnetwork has been network has been assigned to it, and also there are six subnetwork means they have divided that large network into smaller network so that there are this much of hosts are available inside each subnetwork. So these are the available IP mean we can deploy around 4000 VM there, but it is always depend upon the account that how many virtual machine you are able to deploy because every this uh, when you pay purchase the subscription from the AWS, there is a per limit that maybe 100 or 1000 or whatever you have opted for. They will provide you that access that you can create that much of uh, uh, virtual machine. Even every services use the IP address. So sometime if we are running 10 virtual machine, they will have a 10 IP address. But this other services which we are using, they also consume IP. So if you go to the root table of that network, you can see that there is a internet gateway attached. How to edit that? You can click on the edit root table. So root table is nothing else. It is kind of a setting which we do in our router for managing the traffic. Like one internet gateway is there, and the other side this our local network this local network is configured. So we will go back here and then click on the root table. So click on the root and then edit root. So here you have to here the problem is occur that time that the status is showing black hole. So if you want to remove any services, click on the remove, and if you want to add, click on uh, add this 000 means it is allowing the traffic from any IP address. So if you have a specific like IP address or specific services, then you can choose or define the IP range here. So it will allow the IP from that only. Then it is there are a lot of services available here. So each have their different function. So you can search internet gateway here. So you can select that it is the same internet gateway which is already we have created. If we have created a multiple internet gateway, it will show more here in the list. So first, if you found error here, then you need to remove that internet gateway, and then before editing here, you need to also create a internet gateway there. So creating internet gateway is very easy. So this is the dashboard. One internet gateway I already have. So you can create internet gateway here. IGW2. You can name the internet gateway and then create internet gateway. It is that simple. So it will give you the action right away on the top that you have to attach this internet gateway to the virtual private cloud so that it will work. If you directly click on attach, so you can attach the internet gateway to the VPC. So right now I have already attached that internet gateway to VPC. Otherwise, I have to create a one more VPC to create a that to attach that internet gateway because single this VPC have a single internet gateway. So it is not showing me that VPC here. So go back to the internet gateway. We have two internet gateway. We will delete this internet gateway. So sometime there are some critical services which AWS want our proper confirmation to delete that services. So it is asking me to type a delete here. When I type delete, it will delete the internet gateway. So we will detach it from the VPC. I think already my EC2 instance is using that uh, this gateway. So first I have to stop that. Then I have to delete from the VPC. Then modify here. So you can view the detail of that internet gateway that it is attached to this cloud VPC. So once you attach this internet gateway, then you need to go to the root table and check that the gateway has been attached to uh, added to the root. So once it is successfully done, it will show the active status. Now after configuring all this thing, we will go to our EC2 instance. So if anyone have any doubt, just let me know. I will re-explain that topic again. So go to that internet gateway and then, oh, sorry, to the EC2 instance. Then we will try to connect that instance. If you see at the bottom of the screen, there is option called connect. So if you see, it is already connected. So I have run the command who am I. It will show me the username that this EC2 user. By default, Amazon Linux create one user from the name of EC2 user, and it is connected to this DNS. This is our DNS of our machine. So if you want to cross check that DNS, you can go there in the instance, click on that machine, and then
Okay.
you can see that same DNS is there. So basically, DNS is a particular name of that
Okay.
machine, and the IP is this public IP address. So hope I think everyone have got clear that how to troubleshoot a connectivity issue. So there must be other issue also related to the this security group. So what setting I have done is I have allowed all this TCP IP port in the security group to check that whether I have a problem in security group, but problem found in VPC. So what I do right now is I will delete that new created this rule from the security group. So you can click on delete. You can only keep this SSH on so that your connection will remain there. So if you just refresh your console, still you are able to connect to your machine because that SSH port is enabled. So if you want to test that what happen if I delete this SSH port, we can test it right away. So once it is deleted, save rule, you can refresh your machine. Now it is not connected. It is showing me the problem that there was a problem connecting to your instance. So that problem, you know how to troubleshoot that problem. Now it is in security group. So again, you can edit your security group, add rule. You can select SSH. So it will select the port TCP, port range 22. Then you click save CIDR. Again, like it is asking me the source information, like from where I want to connect to this machine. So you can choose 0.0.0.0/0 if you want to connect it from any IP. But if you want to connect from the specific IP, then you can also define that IP or the group of IP by defining that port range. So I will connect it as 0.0.0 now and then try to check that it is successfully applied. Then we will refresh our instance and I'll see that we are able to connect it or not. Again, we are connected. So there are multiple way like to uh, troubleshoot this scenario, but the practice is to first start with your port security group. So if security group look fine, then you can start troubleshooting your internet gateway or VPC or route table. So as you see that that is a very tedious task if it is done in the traditional IT setup, like by uh, IT this network engineer. So they have to completely troubleshoot the router. Router may be of any make, Juniper or Cisco or any other make, HP. So they need to first log into their this router console, or then they need to check the switch also, and also need to check whether the services from the internet service provider are up or down. So there are multiple parameter, and they need to log into the multiple machine, and they need to first understand the complete programming of that router and that switch. Then only they are able to troubleshoot. If they have done the certification of same service of this make router make, like Cisco CCNA certification, then he is able to troubleshoot it professionally. If some person has learned by their own way, so it will take some time to troubleshoot that. But again, the knowledge is required to log into the console and then troubleshooting the problem. And it is very lengthy task. Here, AWS has created a lot of this services in as a file. So only what you need to do is you need to configure your network. You only need to have a basic knowledge of creating a subnetting subnetwork or creating a network. Then you can easily configure a network over there. As you can see right now that we have created like we have a 4,000 IP available in our subnetwork. So our infrastructure is created. We have deployed a single machine. So likewise, if you have a template, you can deploy a multiple machine over there. So you can also like do your testing, and then you can also delete and then redeploy. And even imagine that you have to install Linux in 10 different system, and you are installing it in manual way. Then think that it is a very time consuming task. Although it is required a technical knowledge, but time consumption is very more. So if there are a team of 100 people are there in your organization, and they all want to have some testing machine, want to use to run their code or to test their code, then you can create one template here in cloud, and you can deploy a 100 machine with a one single click. So all machine will like deploy in the parallel mode. So whatever the time it will take to initiate one single machine, so you can have 100 machine within the same time. For example, if it take a 2 minute to create a one single this machine by this script or this AWS cloud services, you can deploy 100 machine the same time. So it will only take a time of one machine to deploy there. So I hope I have made it clear that how to host very first your first this VM in the cloud, and then how to troubleshoot the connectivity issues. So it is very easy. Everyone, anyone can properly uh, read about the service and then start using it right away. You don't need to have required a knowledge of router programming, switch programming, and then installation of Linux. All your time is saved. Like you can focus on your application. If you are a web developer or want to develop a website, you can easily deploy a VM there and then start using your application. So it is that easy. Infrastructure is there, every environment is there. So you can focus on your work rather than waiting for an IT engineer to set up a network for you and then set up a machine for you. So that is where it is very much useful for the people who are don't want to depend upon the other engineers. So they can start building their own network. So any question in that, please let me know in the chat.
Sir, this is Upender.
Yes, yes, please.
Sir, sir, can you explain that SSH port? If the error, can you explain that again?
SSH port.
Sorry, if you close the SSH in mission instance was stopped.
See, these are the some basic tab. One is the tab like detail about your this instance. So there are SSH is a kind of a like network access control list. It is act as a firewall. You can whatever the port you allow, it will only allow that port and block all other port to your machine. For example, like if you are using any window machine, so there is a one firewall services are there, right? So from
Sorry,
firewall
sir.
service, you can, pardon?
Not about SSH. You block the enable the two instance in that time instance was not run. You block the SSH.
Yeah, I was just showing you that if you block that port SSH, so the connectivity to the instance is lost because that port is not there to connect to that instance. Got it or still a doubt is there? This is a port which is responsible for the connection to the instance. This is our EC2 instance, means virtual machine. So for connection, you have to open the port 222, which is SSH.
Okay, sir, I understand.
Understand?
Yes, sir, I understand.
So if like you, there are other port also. If you see the complete list, I will show you in the security group. So for example, you want to uh, like want to host any website over there. So if that port HTTP like port 80 is not open, it is not configured in this security group, you are not able to connect to your web server. If you have hosted one website there in your virtual machine and you want to open it from the internet, then you need to open that port number 80, which is responsible for passing the traffic to the website, right? So likewise, for security reason, Amazon only allow that specific port which is mandatory for connecting to VM. All other port are blocked by default because when you purchase your firewall, then also by default all port are blocked. Only that network or security engineer will only allow that port which is responsible for running your application. By default, all port are blocked because that is for the security reason. Understand, Rupinder? I hope
Yes,
I
sir, I
have cleared
understand.
your doubt.
Yes, sir, I understand it.
Hello, sir.
So, yeah, yes, tell me.
Yeah, totally they have a 4.7 billion of IP address in IPv4.
Yes,
Hello. Yeah,
yes,
in
yes.
that you have mentioned in a concern as a 0.0.0. 0.0.0.0/0, but it will be takes
Mhm.
an totally 4.7 billion of IP address. I connect an 4.7 billion of IP address within a single time, or it will be takes multiple works or not.
See, if when you have mentioned this 0.0./0 as a source IP, so it particularly it is allowing every IP to the instance.
Yeah, it will be
Means
allows defaultly we can connect within a 4.7 billion of IP address. We can connect anyone also, sir, or it will be
yes,
take
yes,
some
yes, sir.
certain path there.
Anyone IP from the IPv4 range.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
But through the internet only, because the basic requirement for the cloud is it must be on the internet,
Yeah, is
right?
there any hello? Yeah, okay, I
Yes,
got
yes.
that point. And one more thing, is there any restricted for the every virtual VPC for this much only we can allow for the any IP addresses or not, and we can use that. Otherwise, we can use any 3.7 billion of IP address.
You can use any IP to connect.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. But is there any restriction for the for every VPC virtual path connections? Is there any restrictions for this much port IP address are to be taken for every virtual path, or it will be taken 3.7 automatically? It will be taken 3.7 billions.
When any IP address which is working over the internet, whether it is in any state, it is having any number which have the service provider provided to you. Because if you want to have an internet, then only a service provider will provide to you. Like for example, Airtel, Geo, whatever the services you are using, or
Yeah,
it's BSNL. So that will provide you any IP address which have any internet. You can connect it from that IP to this VPC. So if you
yes,
want to connect a specific IP range, then there is also option that anywhere custom is to, like, if you want to configure some specific IP range, then you can also define some specific range. There are
yeah,
other option also, like when we are creating the two VPC network. One is public and one is private. Private is like that is not connected to the internet, and public is which is connected to the internet. So private network will not access to the internet, but uh, there is an option called VPC peering, in which we can make a connection to private VPC through public VPC, and we can access public VPC by through internet or through SSH port. That is basically that scenario is practiced by the organization to secure their database. They don't, for security reason, no company expose their database to the website. Got it? So
yeah,
all
okay, sir, got
flexibility
it.
and all options are there. You can make your custom range of IP, or you can use anywhere. If you select anywhere, by default, it will come like this. If you select custom, again you have to define that what is the range, what block you want to configure as a source, incoming source, right?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Anyone?
Sir, one more thing, sir.
Yeah, please tell.
Yeah, the IPv4 addresses are classified into five types, sir. Class A, Class B, Class D, and Class E.
Hmm.
When coming for in the class A, sir, it will be defaultly the default subnet mask was 255.0.0.0. How we can know the 255? How it will be? How it will becomes an 255 only, sir? It will be make it as an 275 also, no?
Pardon? Not
Sir,
able to understand your question.
sir, I have the doubt of the default sir subnet mask, sir. For the class
Hmm.
A IP addresses, they will take in a 255.20.0.0. Why they are
Hmm.
taking in a 255.0.0? we will take an approximately 275.0.0, sir. Why there is there any specific reason for the taking an 255?
For that, you need to learn this uh, IP concept, because 255 is like there are specific hosts in that particular domain. So if you that I will do one thing, that your that doubt will be clear in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow I will purely take the session on the networking part. So I will let you know that why there is a 255, not 275 there in this subnet mask. So we will start learning what are the range of IP address, what are the classes of IP address, and then uh, what are the subnetting in the IP address, and what is the classless inter-domain routing. Because basically this concept is used in AWS for creating a network, like dividing the network into the bigger network into the smaller part. You can see also 128 like 192 in that subnet mask, and how to break down a large network into smaller part. Because once you have created the VPC, you have only that much of host available with you, and you can only utilize that IP. So we will see how which IP range are feasible for us to use in this uh, networking concept in AWS. So tomorrow I will take whole session on the networking part. Today we will understand some other services of cloud. Then we will do detail on IP networking part, and that will be, I think, enough for the tomorrow to understand complete subnetting. There are a lot of things to cover in that networking part, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay, sir.
So now I am closing this lab, and we will start with our uh, this AWS services, so that we can know a little bit more about the services. Then it will be easier to understand us, like how the services work in AWS. Wait for a moment, just give me 2 minutes. So we'll start with the session. So anyone know about the elastic capacity? Mean the terminology elastic capacity or elasticity in AWS or in the cloud domain. You can type yes or no in the chat box. What is elasticity? Okay, no one. My screen is visible to everyone. Please type yes in chat box. Okay. So elasticity is a term which is very frequently used in this cloud domain. So elasticity is like there are a lot of IT resources which we are using to build an infrastructure. Just a minute. So elasticity mean like you are using not able to use your resource fully when you have a traditional IT setup, and in cloud you are using the resource in the optimal way. Let understand by seeing this graph. So this is the graph of traditional IT. So if you see that the when we have planned for a like future perspective point of view, that whatever maximum load we guess that we can have it on our website, we will plan in according to that capacity. So, but our need is like a blue waveform, and we have planned like a red waveform, because sometime our requirement of the resources are more, and sometime are very less. So we always have to plan in excess, so that our network, or we are never run out of the IT resources when we are like running a company. So if we are run out of resources, then we might lose some business or lose some client, because we are not able to provide that service to our client. So we have to plan uh, like whatever our current this requirement is, we have to plan sometime double or 5 times more, because we never know like when there are a lot of requirement to offer the IT resources. So, so if you can see this graph, the red area mark is the wastage of IT resources, because each of these example is typified by the waste IT resource. Where you plan correctly, the IT resource will be over provision, so that the services are not impacted and customer loss during the high demand. In the worst case, the capacity will not be enough and the customer dissatisfaction will result. Most business have a mix uh, differing pattern at play, and much time the resource is dedicated to the planning and the management to ensure services are always available. So as you can see here that variable peak here our IT resource are under plan, and sometime it is over plan. So we have predicted that we have maximum this much of traffic, and then we have over plan, but there is underutilization of the resources or overutilization that will definitely occur in the traditional IT business. So if you see the green area, it is a area where the customer dissatisfaction occur, because you are not able to provide that service at that time, because your resources are like overutilized, and still there is a more demand for the services. So with AWS, you can have the resources Like whatever the resources you have planned, you can use it optimizely, like optimum use of the resources. So whatever the scenario you have, exactly same IT resources will use, and you have to pay for the same workload, not less than that, not more than that. So from one machine to thousand machine, we can plan. Like elasticity is like elasticity work from just one EC2 instance to many thousand. Just dial up and down. You can also matlab, scale up and down your IT services according to the need of your workload, or as per the workload you are having right now. You can, your services will scale up and scale down. So you, so now you don't have to guess like what are the IT resource and how much IT resource we have to plan. You simply provision what you think and you might need early on. If you need more, you simply scale up your services, and if you need less, you can scale down your services. So this is as per the need, like as per your current need. An example that is close to home. November month, that is a website traffic on Amazon.com. If you see that like during daytime or traffic are more, nighttime traffic are less. So this is the waveform they have captured uh, during entire November month. And the end of the month they have put some sales. So the traffic are higher. You can see the spikes over there. So, so Amazon has provision that much of the capacity to fulfill their need, or to like you can say that as per their workload. So they have a provision uh, as a blue line shown in that provision capacity. So they have utilized only 24% of their resource, and rest of 76% are wasted because that is not required at all at that time. So that is where a lot of money and lot of hardware are wasted just to like if you can see here that on that time of the traffic they have to provision basis 76% of resources. So November 10th 2010, they turn off all last physical server and they hosted all the server on the cloud. So if you can see that they are now optimizely using their IT resources. Whenever the demand is there, they have provision that much of resources, and they have like at the end of the month the demand is more, so the resources they use that resources for that machine only. So by leveraging, there is a terminology called auto scaling. So which we will discuss later. But Amazon.com is able to meet the customer demand while eliminating the waste capacity. So each day AWS add the equivalent server capacity to the power Amazon when it was global, a $7 billion enterprise. So I hope it made it clear that how this cloud is like uh, properly utilizing our IT resource, and also saving a lot of expensive this hardware which we are required for to support our organization. We only have to pay what is required at that moment of time. So the next topic is security. So security is a shared responsibility. So in 2006, Amazon AWS was born. Its mission was very clear to enable a businessman and developer to use web services to scalable applications. It interested to note that what we call a web services and how uh, in the common term the cloud. So the web services always has been a distinct and individual Amazon organization. So this is where the Amazon play the role, and this is the where the customer has played the role. So to providing us a secure services, Amazon has obtained industry certification and independent third party attestation described in the document. So they have many auditor, many company, they have certified, get a certified from there that that network is safe and secure to utilize. So many certification you can see at the bottom of the screen is listed down for all these Amazon services. So the physical security of the data center. Physical security mean Amazon has a building a large scale data center for many year important attribute non-descriptive facility, robust parameter control, strictly control physical access, two or more level of two-factor authentication, controlled need base access, all access is logged and reviewed, separation of duty, employee with the physical access don't have the logical privileges. So if you see that Amazon has secure the services in a very professional way to provide us uh, like good experience on the cloud. So that EC2 instance security. So EC2 means the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. That is a full form of EC2. And security within Amazon EC2 is provided on the multiple level. The operating system of the host and the virtual instance operating system, or you can say guest OS, a firewall and signed API call, like each of these items build on the capability of the other. The goal is to protect again the data contained within the Amazon EC2 from being intercepted by unauthorized system or user, and to provide Amazon EC2 instances themselves that that are as secure as possible without sacrifice. You can say that without sacrificing the flexibility in the configuration that customer demand. So there is a multiple level of security which Amazon provide us, like operating system security, guest operating system security, firewall is there, storage security is there. So these are the certification and accreditation for the workload that matter. So now we will talk about the AWS services. So if you can see that uh, our platform look like this when we log into the AWS console, there are lot of services. So for management and administration, like we have services like AWS IAM, like identity and access management, web interface management console from where we can manage our AWS services, and this monitoring, like if you want to monitor your services, cloud watch is there, you can monitor the resource, or you can also configure other services with the services like CloudWatch. It will automatically launch a new instance when it see that there is a load of 80% on your CPU. It will automatically launch a second virtual machine which will share the traffic. So other management and administration services is deployment and automation like Elastic, Benstack, and Cloud Formation. These are the services which are responsible for the automation of infrastructure. For example, if you only need to focus on your application, rest infrastructure need will be taken care by Elastic Beanstalk. So there are application platform services are also there. You can say that this cloud front content distribution service application SVC, simple workflow services, cloud search, Amazon SNS like simple notification service, SQS simple queue services, SCS services, and parallel processing, Elastic map reduce library and SDK for Java, PHP, Python, Ruby, and .NET, and foundational services like these are the basic services on which other services are run. That is compute, Amazon EC2 like virtual machine which we are just created in our AWS console, auto scaling like automatically scale up and down your infrastructure as per the workload on your network. Storage services like S3, EBS, Amazon Store Gateway. So these are the services which store your data securely and also your website code. And sometimes there are also services like Amazon Glacier. So the data which you are not frequently using, they put your data in the Amazon Glacier storage service, which will be very much cheaper, like cheapest of all this Amazon Glacier service. It will cost you $0.001 cost because the frequency of data is less. Then database services is there, Amazon RDS, Amazon Simple uh, DB, Amazon Elastic Cache, Amazon DynamoDB. Networking services are there like VPC, Elastic Load Balancer. Uh, VPC is like to creating a private network in the private or public network in the cloud. Then Elastic Load Balancer is to uh, manage the traffic between two instances. Then route uh, 53 is there which provide a DNS service and direct connect. Like if you want to use AWS infrastructure but you want to use your machine on AWS, you can also do that. So AWS global infrastructure availability zone are there, regions are there, and edge locations are there. We will learn more when we are moving forward, right? So these are the example like they have hosted the server. Now it is all slide, but it is increasing day by day. So they have mentioned that US East, US West. So if you see that that is a particular region, and they are global region also. But inside one region there are further availability zone. That is like a separate data center, physically separate data center. So these are the main foundational service of AWS. Basically, they are charging for only foundational and some services associated with that. So if we go to the compute, there are three major services: Elastic Compute Cloud, which we call EC2, Amazon Machine Image. That is a image of that operating system which we want to use. Like you can say that Windows Server image, uh, Amazon Linux image, Red Hat image, CentOS image. So whatever our development platform is, like the uh, host operating system, we can use that environment and then you can deploy your application over that so that you can start developing or you can start working on that right away. So they have different Amazon machine images are there. Once you deploy that VM machine, then you can start using it right away by updating your security setting on that machine. So elastic compute cloud, that is EC2 instance is equal to the virtual server. We can same refer it to as a EC2 or virtual server. So EC2 present a true virtual computing environment allow you to use web services interface to launch instance with a variety of operating system. Load them with your custom application environment, manage your network access permission, and run your image using as many or few system as you desire. To use EC2, you simply select a pre-configured template, that is AMIs. We call AMIs, Amazon Machine Image, to get up and running immediately, or create a AMI containing your application, or you can have a multiple images are also there which have by default configure with the database services. You can straight away deploy that database services image. You can start having the database, like whatever database you are using, like if you are using MySQL or any other database, you can have that image already configure that application. You can straight away launch that in 1 second. So you can choose security and network access on your Amazon EC2. Choose your instance type, like when to start, terminate, monitor as many as instance of your AMI as needed, and use the web service APIs or variety of management tool provided. So there are many tools which are used to manage your IT resource, because in if you look in the traditional IT network, so IT administrator are always managing their resources through remotely, because every Windows machine or Linux machine are reporting the status of what are the application running on that workstation. Any unauthorized application is not should be installed on the any workstation, which are not permitted by the organization, and only the licensed version of that operating system should be installed in the machine. So pay only in the Amazon EC2, you pay only for the resource that you actually consume, like instance hour or data transfer. So if you see in this graph, the EC2 instance come with the 14 different type of this machines. Like whatever our requirement is, if our requirement is less, we can use a micros machine. If we need a high CPU uh, and more memory, you can always have a, they have a different flavor, like standard machines are there, machine with the larger memory like 128 GB of RAM are available uh, with AWS. So choose a machine as per your requirement. If you are running graphic application, you can use high CPU and high memory uh, this EC2 instance virtual machine. If you use only for testing a purpose, you can use micro, which have only single core and 1 GB. So in micro also there are multiple flavor, like depend upon the application or the resource you want, you have that flavor. So that come with the 1 GB RAM in the free tier, 2 GB, 3 GB, 4 GB, or 10 GB, or 16 GB, 8 GB. You can choose the flavor as per your application workload. So as you can see that building block of EC2 instance and AMI is like a template of a computer root volume, can be public or a private, create hardened or a gold image of your EC2. AMI is like a kind of a machine. You can also build your own AMI, or you can upload your own machine there. So You can also transfer the AMI from one region to other region if you want to deploy that same machine to the uh, other region also. Because once you have created a VMware, you can install your application. Then AWS give you the option to create a uh, image of that instance also. Like then it will be your custom this virtual machine instance. You can first if you want to like set up an organization where there are 10 application you are using to support your client. You can install that 10 application, your custom application in that machine, and then create again AMI of that machine. Then you can deploy that machine in the 100 virtual machine, and you can start using your own AMIs with your custom applications. So what is auto scaling? Auto scaling is a type of the policy into which you launch instance. Simply a minimum or a maximum number of your instance you would like to launch into each availability zone. Like keeping a server up at all time and make sure that at least one server up in separate availability zone. So uh, scale your Amazon EC2 capacity automatically once you define the condition, maybe thousand of server. So whenever we have seen that in many scenario, sometime we required resources like if we are talking about any application. So in daytime we it required a more resources, or sometime during the evening time it required a lot of users are free to so that they can visit the website of that any particular shopping website. So at that time the traffic is higher. You can fire up two virtual machine. So when at the night, like around after 11 p.m. or as you can say around midnight, uh, then you require a less IT resources. You can scale down it to the one. So during sale season, you can scale up to the multiple time. Like you can fire up 2 to 3 machine depending upon the workload. As you can see in this screen, so when we configure that you trigger when the CPU utilization is more than 75%, automatically it will install other machine or this VM machine and divide the traffic. So dividing the traffic, you need a load balancer. Load balancer automatically route one request to one machine and then another request to another machine. Or there are multiple methods by which it will divide the load. So when the CPU utilization reaches 76%, it automatically deploys a second virtual machine, and so on. It's all depend upon how many limit you have put. If you have put that five instances a maximum capping, then it stop at five, and then divide the load on the all the machines. So when you have mentioned the condition that if the load on the single virtual machine is less than 35%, it will automatically scale down your virtual machine to single machine. So only you need to pay for like if that VMware, extra VMware are run for 1 hour, you only need to pay for extra VMware virtual machine for 1 hour only. So moving down to the next service is storage services. So Amazon has a different storage services. Like some storage services are expensive and some are very inexpensive and cost you very less. It is all depend upon like uh, the your usage of the data, the frequency, like how frequently you use your data. So starting with the simple storage service S3. So uh, storage for the internet natively, like online, we need to have a one port open, that is HTTP or HTTPS, to access that storage, because as you know that it is available over the internet. So we need to have uh, port 80 or HTTPS port should be open to access that storage. The store or retrieve any amount of data anytime from anywhere on the web. So it is highly scalable, reliable, fast, and durable. So it has 11 you can nins of the durability, mean designed to provide 99.999% of the durability and 99.99% availability of the object over a given year. So designed to sustain the current losses of data in the two facilities. So means it is also provide you the backup that your data will never lose. They will made a multiple copy of your data, and if one availability reason is not available, then also you are still able to access your data like Google Drive. So if the Google services are down in one region, but our data is still available from the other region. So it is given as a shape of the bucket. So bucket is equivalent to the folder. So able to store unlimited number of object in the bucket. If you can see in this picture that the object from 1B to 1 byte to 5 terabyte, no bucket size limit. So highly available storage for the internet and HTTP/S endpoint to store and retrieve any amount of data. So whenever you are storing your data to the AWS S3, it will not charge you for the uploading of your data. But when you are downloading your data, it will put some uh, charges on that. That you need to like check when you are calculating the cost when you are building your infrastructure. So object in this S3, you can see that uh, the time sequence of the total number of objects stored in S3, it is increasing from day by day to it. I have a data till 2013, but now current it has many trillion time of data has stored in the S3. So what is EBS? EBS is also a kind of a storage, elastic block storage. So block storage volume for use with the Amazon EC2 instance attached to running instance and exposed as a block device. So whenever you are firing up your instance, it automatically uh, store the instance data in EBS. So these are the some feature which are listed for the EBS used for persistent storage can use to create RAID configuration for the server of instance block storage that persist independently storage volume for use with the Amazon EC2 instance, create, attach, backup, restore, and delete. You can be attached to the running Amazon EC2 instance and expose as a block device for the raw and formatted access. The volume behave like unformatted block device for the Linux or the Windows instance. The ideas use case is OS boot device, root file system, or a secondary volume slash file system, typically basis for the database storage, and the raw blocks device for the read and some database. So as I told you that it has also has a cheaper storage service, that is a Amazon Glacier. So it is a very low cost storage services for data archiving or data backup, like the data which you are not frequently used. So it will cost you only zero point zero 0.01 per GB per month. So that is a zero point zero 0.01 dollar per GB per month. So it is optimized for the data that is infrequently accessed. Retrieval time measured in the hour, not in the days or week. So annual durability of 99 point, you can say that 99999999% for an archive. AES like encryption is there to protect your data, and data stored as archive within a vault. Vault are located within specific AWS region. So AWS storage gateway. So connect on premises, if you like, in some cases if you want to connect your own premises software application with the cloud based storage, so it is used to securely upload the data to AWS cloud for cost effective backup and rapid disaster recovery. The backup point in time snapshot of your on premises application data to the S3 for future recovery. So, and mirror your on premises data to the EC2 instance. So the AWS storage gateway is a service connecting an on premises application or software appliances with the cloud based storage to provide seamless and secure integration between an organization on premises IT environment and AWS storage infrastructure. So once it is correctly configured, you will not feel any difference that you are using a local storage or your online storage. So moving to the next service, identity and access management. I've already explained yesterday that what is identity and access management. So I am enable a customer to create and manage user in AWS identity system. So if you have seen then in this picture that there is a one account under that we have created a group of admins and developer and for testing. Then there is a few user we have put in admin group, and then a few user in developer group and few user in testing group. So we can apply different policies, permissions, or restricting the access to the AWS resources, so that the people only focus on their uh, resources which they are like working in our organization or in the organization for which they are responsible for using in their job. So we can find control, we have they have a multiple assign individual password, access key, multi-factor authentication are there. So there are a lot of security options and a lot of this policies are there by which we can properly configure the access to our critical online sources, for example similar like the traditional IT resources which we are using right now in our industry. Like we put us some active directory there and then controlling the login to system and only uh, allowing the developer to log in the developer zone, not any other user. So consolidated billing, so paying account, you can attach a multiple AWS account to single account so that it can consolidate your billing. So the consolidated billing enable you to see a combined view of AW costs incurred by all account in your department or a company, as well as obtain a detailed cost report for individual AWS account associated with your paying account. So the consolidated billing may also lower your overall cost, since the roll up uses across all of your account could help you to reach lower price volume tier more quickly. So always they will give you the option to control your AWS resources and give you a detailed report on that. So the AWS management console provided a point and a click web interface, like which we have seen to install our first virtual machine, and that is a management console. Similar kind of a picture you can see here. As I told you that right now our current console look different. This is the earlier console which they have uh, in back of 2013. So CLI's libraries and SDK. So you choose your choice of programming language: Java, PHP, Python, Ruby, and all are supported in the cloud. So there are uh, many other way we can like control our EC2 resources from the different language. So application platform service, you can see that they have, which I have already explained you that application platform services. So we will move some more detail on the application, like understand each service little bit more, so that when you are using your AWS console, you can always know that what services are there. So DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, RDS, SimpleDB, and Redshift. So start with the DynamoDB. So AWS DynamoDB is a fully managed NoSQL database service that provide a fast and predictable performance with a seamless scalability. So with a few click in the AWS management console, customer can launch a new Amazon DynamoDB database table, scale up and down their request capacity for the time request capacity for the table without downtime or performance. Like no need to down your database services. You can scale up and down easily, and it can support a very large database base, and also it will provide you a single digit latency in millisecond. So if you see that Amazon DynamoDB enable customer to offload the administrative burden of operating and scaling distributed database. So like for a database engineer, it is very hard time to maintain the database imperfectly and keep it up and running. So it reduce your burden of like scaling distributed database to AWS. So they don't have to worry about hardware provisioning, setup and configuration, replication, software patching, clustering. All this burden is taken care by Amazon. Moving to the next service, database, that is Amazon Relational Database Services (RDS), hosted and manage MySQL and Oracle or MS SQL. So manage the time-consuming database admin tasks like backup, snapshot, upgrade, replication, code slash app slash tool, integrate seamlessly. Just change a connection string. So multi-agent means multiple availability zone and read replica option for MySQL to provide a secondary database. So Amazon RDS is a web service that make it easy to set up, operate, and scale a relational database in the cloud. It provides a cost-efficient and resizable capacity while managing time-consuming database administration tasks. So moving to the next slide is just a minute. Okay. Amazon Elastic Cache is a web services that make it easy to deploy, operate, and scale an in-memory cache in the cloud. The service improve the performance of the web application by allowing you to retrieve information from a fast managed in-memory caching system instead of relying on a demand. So managing patching, cache node failure detection and recovery. Simple API call to grow and shrink the cache clusters. So it is also integrated with the CloudWatch and SNS to perform a monitoring and alert. So Amazon Simple DB services. Just a minute. Uh, so we will uh, so what is Amazon Redshift? Is a fully managed scalable data warehousing services It can scale up to 2 TB XL node to the 116 TB 8 XL cluster node for a total of 1.6 petabyte of compressed user data. So massively parallel processing architecture is there. So price is as low as $1,000 per terabyte per year. So continuously backup to the EC2. So what is this Amazon uh, CloudFront? So Amazon CloudFront is the web services for the content delivery. It integrates with the other AWS services to give a developer and businesses an easy way to distribute content to the end user with a low latency, high data transfer speed, and no commitment. So these are some important services: SNS, SQS, SES, SWS, and Cloud Search. So the messaging is a very important for the developing scalable application. So effective scaling, like especially horizontally, require decoupling. So if you can see that like separating component in the simplest form, user messaging to communicate between the component like state, task, like communication between the various services, it is taken care by that this application services. So probably no surprise at this point in the fact that AWS offer several different services that address unique messaging requirement. This Amazon SNS is Amazon Simple Notification Services for delivering and message to HTTP or email endpoints. Amazon Simple Email Services Beta, that is SES, for delivering more traditional email content exclusively to email address, and Amazon this simple queue services SQS to pass between the computer in a highly available and distributed messaging queue. So these are the some pictures by which you can understand like how these services work. So like this Amazon simple workflow services, as you can see in the picture that there are three tasks: A, task B, task C. So SWF give you the ability to build and run a distributed fault-tolerant application that span multiple systems, that is cloud-based, on-premises, or both. Amazon Simple Workflow coordinate the flow of synchronous and asynchronous tasks so that you can focus on your business and your application instead of having to worry about the infrastructure. So we provide the piping for async slash decoupled or both cloud and on-premises resources. So Amazon Cloud Service create uh, and configure a search domain. This is a data container and set of related services. It exists with the particular availability zone of a single AWS region. Upload your document. Document can be uploaded as a JSON or XML format that conform to our search document format SDF. Upload document will typically be searchable within the second. So you can, if you like, send data over HTTP connection to protect it while it is in the transit. So these are more services from AWS, and let's come on the networking part. So this part we will deeply cover tomorrow, but current we understand like what are these basic networking component of AWS. So elastic load balancer, as shown in the figure, that this is a elastic load balancer services. So these are our EC2 instance. So we are routing the traffic and also managing the traffic to via elastic load balancer, so that the equal amount of traffic should go to the each and every resource. So basically, it is to distribute the load to different machines. So Amazon Route 53, it is a DNS service which like when we are going to uh, develop a website or when we are going to register our domain, so we need some DNS service which can map a name to the IP address. So Amazon Route 53 is highly available and scalable domain name services. It is designed to give developer and business extremely reliable and cost-effective way to route end user to the internet application by translating human readable name like www.example.com or www.amazon.com into the numeric IP address like 192.168.1.1 that the computer used to connect to the each other. So Route 53 effectively connect user request to the infrastructure running in the AWS, such as Amazon EC2 instance and Amazon Elastic Load Balancer or Amazon Simple Storage Server. You can like name your storage server and then you can type that name. It will automatically translate into the IP address and connect to the storage services. So what is Amazon VPC? Amazon VPC is the Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. So Amazon Virtual Private Cloud let you to provision a private isolated section of AWS cloud where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network that you define. So whatever the parameter you want to have in your network, you can straight away configure and define your network in your own way. With Amazon VPC, you can define a virtual network topology that closely resemble a traditional network that you might operate in your own data center. So you have complete control over virtual network environment, including the section of your own IP address range, creation of subnet, configuration of route tables, and network gateway, which we have just seen in our today example. So this is a typical scenario of a VPC. So by this example, you can understand how this VPC look like. So over there is the internet, and this is a customer network, and this is the cloud VPC you have hosted in the AWS. So VPC is nothing less than a traditional IT network. Inside that, there are web servers are there, then database server are there, then there are public subnet, private subnet, and VPN subnet only. Like when it cater over all the need. So all this EC2 instance which we have created today is fall under virtual private network. So this is the upper layer of that network, and under that you can see that there are public and private subnets are there. So public subnet means to which we have attached a public IP address, and private subnet is to which we have attached a private IP address. So public can communicate with the private if we configure VPC peering and other services. And also there are VPN only subnet. Sometime we required a user to connect to the VPN to work in the local environment of that organization. Many organizations give the VPN server, and with a specific setting, they can log into their company or their organization network, and then they can start using the services which are only running in that current organization. So you can see that in this example, this is availability. Internet is there. The customer EC2, 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 1, 2, 3 customer is there. Then AWS region uh, is a EC2 classic. Sorry, EC2 classic is one big network is there. Then there is a two availability zone under there. So in availability zone there is some machines are there. Likewise in availability zone B there are other virtual machines. So all have assigned to the public IP address. So if you have seen that there are sub network and one private cloud. One large network is there, and under that large network there are sub network. So that we will will learn tomorrow that how to do the subnetting part and how to break a large network into the sub network, so that sometime it is very much required in the organization that the developer network should be different from that user environment, and testing environment. Sometimes they require a different network, so that sometimes their application do not do cross communication. So all are attached to the internet gateway. It is all depend upon your you can say your requirement. Some sub network are attached to the internet gateway. Some are not required because they contain some confidential information which they don't want that anyone can access through or directly like go to their subnet, private subnet. So management and administration, the commitment to the AWS web services is also shown through the product offered. So if you see that this deployment and management quickly, this AWS Elastic Beanstalk is used for quickly deploying Java, .NET, PHP web application to the AWS cloud. So it is even an easier way for you to quickly deploy and manage the application in AWS cloud. You simply upload your application and Elastic Beanstalk automatically handle the deployment detail of the capacity. Load balancing, auto scaling means only you need to deploy your application, it will automatically uh, handle the provisioning of the networking, or it will automatically create a load balancer, auto scaling, everything. So you will get a seamless experience uh, of you only need to focus on your application only. Rest infrastructure need will be taken care by Elastic Beanstalk. So what is this cloud formation? This is again a service which is like create a template of a stack of resources, deploy a stack from the template with the runtime parameter. Basically, this service, if you see here that AWS EC2 instance is written here, once you define each and every parameter, you can create a very small level infrastructure to a big level infrastructure within a single script. So whatever the requirement you have written there, it will create a security group. It will create a EC2 instance with a single script. So that cloud formation will run your script that is written in the JSON format, and then it will create the infrastructure within a minute. For example, if you want to deploy 100 uh, virtual machine, then by having this script, we can deploy that 100 virtual machine within a 2 minute. Imagine that how like deploying a 100 configuring 100 workstation in the traditional IT network, then it will take a day long time. I remember when I was working in IBM call center as an IT engineer, IBM Daksh. So there are many different process like Make My Trip, Airtel, and this Citibank. So sometime they have ramp up the process, like they have increased the sitting capacity from 100 seat to 200 seat. So for next like 100 user capacity, we need to install a 100 machine. So we work day and night in the rotational shift to configure that machine. So at that time, we are using Norton Ghost, a software which is used to create an image. First, we have create an image of that machine by installing that standard application that support that process. Like, for example, take the example of Citibank. So Citibank process required a specific kind of a application on their workstation, and also they need a specific group policy to be applied on the or a local policy to be applied on the OS, so that no one can save any single file on the desktop, because sometime they will note down your important information related to the credit card or a banking account. So once all the settings and all the hardening of the OS is done, when I mean hardening mean when you are applying a specific security setting to the OS, then we create a image of that OS. Then we take this CD drive to each and every computer and start deploying that image in the computer. So sometime that application, sorry, that activity take around say 1 week to 2 week, depending upon the number of engineer. So my time we like work day and night for 5 to 6 day to complete all the this machine, because whenever we are deploying that machine, it required 1 to 2 hour to put the OS. Although we have created an image, but again when OS started take a lot of settings and freshen up, and also the image is different for the different of machine. For example, if one machine is Lenovo make and other machine is HP, then you need two this image. One is for HP hardware, and other is for Lenovo hardware. So sometime we accidentally deploy a wrong image on a wrong hardware. Then again we need to reconfigure that machine. So in a cloud network, it is now these days it is very much easier, and that tedious task is only taking 2 minutes to deploy 100 machine if you have a correct template. So this is a Amazon Ops work. So AWS Cloud Formation give developer and system an easy way to create and collection of related AWS resources and provision them in orderly and predictable fashion. So developer can use this ops work, like add your first stack and then add a structure, add layer, then define and deploy your application over that, and manage your stack. So you have a granular security control over each of the stack. So Amazon data pipeline. So it automate the movement and the processing of the data using data-driven workflow and built-in dependency checking. This is a typical example of Amazon data pipeline. Like daily task is there, EC2 instance is there. So task copy log file store in the Amazon S3, and there are some weekly tasks. So which is taken care by Amazon EMR, Amazon Cloud Watch. So Amazon Cloud Watch is provide monitoring and control, uh, monitoring of AWS cloud resources and application. The customer run on AWS, the application run on AWS. The developer and system administrator can use it to collect and track metrics given inside and react immediately to keep their application and business running smoothly. Sometime when you are deploying any resource, so there are some engineer who are sitting at the back end to manage that AWS resource. So, for example, if you have hosted a Domino's website or a McDonald's website, so at the back end, AWS, there are a team of engineer who are working continuously to monitor your backend resource so that in case of any physical failure of the resource, your application not affected. You will be providing a seamless experience from the other resources, and that faulty this hardware will be removed from that system. So, so there are some deployment model like availability. Use multiple availability zone. Like these are the deployment model. Like if you want to uh, like designing your infrastructure in the cloud, so it is advisable to use multiple availability zones so that in the case of failover, your application request will be taken care by the another availability zone. And these are use RDS with the replica and standby. Sometime we need a standby data backup. Sorry, database services. If our this database is crash, we have a standby to request fulfill our website request. Or sometime if your primary server is only taking changes or change management, you can uh, routing the website request from the secondary server so that your primary server is secure. So use auto scaling group. You can define auto scaling group like if one infrastructure is failed, it will the your answer your query your website traffic will be controlled from the another availability zone with a similar architecture. So use elastic load balancer to divide the traffic between your two uh, availability zone, like uh, 50% traffic to this and 50% to this, or to optimally use the resources. Use route 53 to host DNS zone. So you have a route 53 which can take care of your DNS queries and route it to the desired resource. So sometimes you have a multiple website running, so there are multiple database. So route 53 will directly route your request to the specific database. Three services better together. So as you can see that CloudWatch, auto scaling, and elastic load balancer. CloudWatch is will monitor your AWS resources. Auto scaling will scale up and down your network. For example, CloudWatch detect that your CPU percentage goes higher than 75%. Then auto scaling automatically create a new instance, and by keeping your network your machine workload in check, and elastic load balancer will route traffic to the both instance so that your one resource is not choke out or shut down due to the heavy workload. So if you use three services together, it will give you the highly available network and fault tolerant network. That is the first primary objective of any IT organization, to provide a highly available network and a fault tolerant network. So all these parameter will be taken care, utilization and latency in the check by using these three services. So architect to use a cloud strength like elastic load balancer, Route 53 RDS and auto scaling. So these are some use cases. So these are the word from their digital marketing manager, that the website went online in less than a 1 month and was able to support a peak traffic that is 250% burst in the visitor related to the new product launch. So this is their wording that their website runs smoothly under AWS, and also like there are 2.5 times higher traffic than the normal days. So it automatically scale and automatically uh, manage the traffic to your website. So Bank Inter it use like credit card data for a simulation purpose. So their director of technical innovation has written a message that uh, it uses a Bank Inter uses AWS as an integral part of their credit risk simulation application. So we need to perform at least 50 lakh of simulation to get a realistic result. So average simulation time went from 23 to 20 minutes. So this is a news, international news quote that they got their team focus on building things rather than focusing on the infrastructure, because all the infrastructure automation is taken care by AWS. So they are focusing more on their uh, uh, applications rather than thinking on spending time on building infrastructure. So there are many examples like which are very beneficial to help to understand how cloud is beneficial to us and why all major players like Microsoft, Oracle, Amazon, they are moving toward providing a cloud infrastructure as a services, because there is a lot of time consumption when we are designing any kind of application. But all this time consuming task will be taken care by a company like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Alibaba. So they have created a script to shorten our time duration, and we are more focusing to the application development. Thank you everyone for attending this session. So before closing the session, if anyone have any query related to this, please let me know. Tomorrow we
Hello,
will
sir.
discuss. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think the load balancer will becomes under the runners.
Pardon?
The load
The load
balancer will
balancer
becomes under the runners.
comes
The
under
load
there.
balancer will becomes under the runners.
Your voice is cracking. You can type your question in the chat box. Anyone who have their query, they can type in the chat box. I will answer it right away. Otherwise, we will close this session for today. We will uh, the video will be shared to you by our organizer. So, Bhaskar I cannot understand your question properly. Comes under runner, what you mean to say? Because the task of the load balancer is to route the traffic, to manage the traffic. So there are many strategies which under which the load balancer work. Some load balancer work on optimizing the application request only. Some work to manage the network traffic only, and some is a classic load balancer which route the request of incoming traffic to round robin request. Like if we have a three network, then it will route the request to first, second, and then third, then again first, second, third, like that. Yes, tell me.
Yeah, in the runners there are the six types of the runners, sir. Load balancer, active backup, and round robin. Another three I don't know, sir. If they in Amazon Web Service they will use a load balancer, why they are using a load balancer? Why they are not using an active backup, sir? And round robin and other things.
There are like different principle. If I show you my dashboard right now, there are different like strategy on which this load balancer are working. So once we will go to this load balancer topic, I will clear your all doubt at that time. But right now, tomorrow we will have some this networking session, and then I will show you like how quickly you can host your website even without installing any virtual instance. You can directly run your static website from S3 bucket, like which only need the data updation from IT person, and you can have the data display to the website, right? So tomorrow one networking session and one AWS lab we will cover. So just let me have a word with the organizer, then we will close down the session. Just wait for a 2 minute more. Okay, thank you everyone. You can then now Mr. Anand will take on the session, and they will tell you moving forward.